introduce Dr. Sadab Denish sir to our participants. Dr. Sadab Denish sir, currently working as an assistant professor in Dr. B.R. Ambedkar School of Economics, University of Bangalore. He did his PhD in economics from IIT Indore in 2021. He completed his MPhil in economics from University of Hyderabad in 2016 and did his master's from Aligarh Muslim University in 2013. His research area and academic interest area covers economics of innovation and technology management, international economics, microeconomics, and specific area of interest covers IPR policy, incentives of patent policy, economic valuation of patents, etc. His work has been published in various reputed national and international journals like Technology Analysis and Strategic Management, International Journal of Innovation and Management, Journal of Scientometrics, Transnational Corporation, Review and Energy Economics, etc. We welcome you, sir, to this session. So without further delay, I would like to hand over the session to sir to continue this session and would like to request all the participants to stay connected with us for this session. Thank you.
Thank
sir,
you.
Okay, sir.
Thank you for the brief introduction. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'll share my slides. All right, so before starting, I just want to greet everyone. Good evening, everyone, and who is listening here and live as well. And as ma'am has already introduced me, I don't need to tell anything about myself. She has already explained and covered everything. And today's session I am going to take on and I'm going to speak on a bit. It's more like a discussion thing where I would like to have a more interactive session where we will talk about the relevance of IP and innovation in India. And also we will try to look at that, where are we right now in terms of innovation and IP. And we'll also try to look at some of the data and data aspects, like where do we really stand and how we have over the period of time innovation trajectory, how it has improved over the period of time. So as the topic suggests, innovation basically in the last couple of years, and especially in the couple of decades, if you say, has been talked by so many, especially in the developing nations, has been discussed by the policymakers, and they kind of lately they kind of realized that the resource economics and then the traditional kind of economics is no more relevant for this rapid changing environment. And in order to really match the pace of world economy, you have to have very innovative. You have to bring the product that is path-breaking product, or that has some kind of competitive edge. And therefore, innovation has been a very much talk of in the researchers arena as well as in the policymakers. And if you look at that, how sometimes back in 1960s and so the word innovation was in major journals, like for example Econometrica, QJE, or you name it, and American Economic Review, all the major journals. If you take the title innovation, was less than 11 papers was there, which was coming in the title. Now post 1960 till now, a lot has changed about innovation, and a lot has been said about innovation. It's not that over the time it has just changed, but there has been a realization that how innovation is shaping, how innovation is helping an economy to fight with the climate change, how innovation is helping to reduce the poverty, and all these things somewhere, and especially this, like UN development goals, 9 development goals, where it has been talked about, sustainable innovation. And so like all these over the period of all these development, and also bringing the world IP at one platform under intact with the policy, with all the countries, member countries, with the TRIPS agreement and the compliance with the TRIPS agreement, lot has changed. So this is the basic what we have being seen, like we have seen over the period of time, 1995, and then there have been multiple times that Indian government has changed the amended the Patent Act and has brought completely compliance with the TRIPS agreement. And also so there are a lot of other things that you already you know about, how product patent was not allowed, and then post 2005, and so there was a product patent came into existence and in the pharmaceuticals, and then it has there was a high inflow of patenting in India. So we'll look at all those aspects. So let's begin with this today's lecture. What is the content like I'm going to discuss in today's agenda? Introduction, basically, I'll talk about innovation at a glance, that at the global level, how it is, where innovation is happening, what kind of innovation is happening, who are the participants of innovation in the innovation. So we'll look at that. And then second point, which I'm interested to discuss, is that innovation and appropriation problem, which is basically saying that talking about innovation without being a innovation as a public good, it's sometimes very difficult to appropriate the value and appropriate the return from that. So we'll discuss about that. What sort of problems and what are the literature behind that? What are the how researchers has looked at that appropriation problem. The third point, which I'm going to discuss about the innovation ecosystem in India. Ecosystem, when I say ecosystem, means like the multiple actors, multiple agents are there that are interacting in like institutions, policies, like the government, and different kind of individuals. They come together and then develop an ecosystem. So that ecosystem will talk about patent policy, briefly talk about the patent policy in India, from the science technology policy, STI, science technology innovation policy of 3 points. We'll discuss about that, and in order to have a little more idea that what is happening in Indian context. And lately, we are not going long back, that what happened in 50s, 60s, 70s, and how many institutions being developed. Those things we are not going to discuss. We'll discuss recent development and recent changes. One value of innovation, Indian innovation, that's very. This is one of my work that I was very closely working during PhD as well. That how does quality of innovation in India's innovation quality, how to measure that, and if is it at par, or where do we really stand in terms of value? Is it important also because a lot of patenting is happening, right? So it has been said, and in number of literature I have found that frivolous patenting is increasing a lot, which means the patent which does not have high value. People do file patent for different other reasons, may not have commercial value. So we'll talk about that part, and with some data and the research work that I have done on that. And then we'll conclude okay. So can you please tell me how much time I have from now, like till 7:30?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I have time till 7:30.
Yes.
Okay, I'll try to okay, in that given time. Okay, so the slogan which is given here, the Creative India, Innovative India, which is lately came, and the government is saying about like create and innovate. Create and innovate. This is one of the agenda, one of the mantra that right now that everyone is talking in the policy. If you look at this quote, I like it very much. Like, if this business were split up, I would give you the land and bricks and mortar, and I would take the brands and trademark, and I would fare better than you. Sum up the today's 21st century industrial revolution 4.0 situation. It's completely sum up that how exactly the IP has become assets. Intellectual property has become asset, and more valuable than the mortar, more valuable than buildings, and then all the shops that one owns. More than that, the value of IP is there, and so much. So it's also says that, I'll give you one more example about that. Jeff Bezos, the guy, the Amazon guy, he's very popular. Everyone knows. In 1997 or so, he patented one click patent, right? And so one click, you can buy anything, right? He started from a very small place, and then he used to sell the old books online, right? And later Amazon came up. So one click patent was there, and that one click patent generated so much money, and as well as the business, that it has created an entire segment of business, the online business, that right now, whatever you keep in your basket, in your cart, for example, online, and then you do the click and payment you make. So that is patented and it's owned by the Amazon. So how IP has created a segment of business. So it's not that all the IPs are privileged, but there are certain IPs that has created immense value for the owners as well as for the society. Let's look at the innovation in this overall innovation what is the scenario here. As of 2018, the database of the World Intellectual Property Organization, WIPO, one of the leading organizations, one of the biggest organization that kind of handles all the data related to intellectual property, that held more than 3 million patents filed, 3 million and 20 million trademark registrations happened. So many analysts attribute socioeconomic progress that has happening in the law over the past decade is attributed to the innovation. It has been attributed to the technological advancement, technological innovation. You also look at that how the poverty has reduced from 45% to 10% over the past 4 decades. Many people will say that there can be a number of other factors. Yes, there can be a number of other factors, but the innovation has been a very important role, played an important role when it comes to, and there is a literature backed by that. So we'll look at also those such kind of literature. Goal 9 of UN Sustainable Development SDGs goal, where it has been discussed about the resilient infrastructure, sustainable industrialization, and fostering innovation, which is basically kind of telling you that that if our economy has to progress with the pace as the developed economy is doing, one has to keep in mind the innovation performance. Annual global spending on R&D peaked 1.7 trillion, which is huge, but still, but when it compares to India, which I'm going to show the data, India stands far below it when it comes to R&D and all. But yes, there is still growing innovation activities, and which is has been supported by GII report, Global Innovation Index report. Once upon a time, we used to be a very close to 100 in the global innovation index. We reached to 46 in 2021, so it has an immense development happened. In the past decades, the world recorded researcher intensity of 1,473 researchers per million, 2.2 million journals publications, 3 million patent filings, and 2 trillion in exports of high-tech commodities, which is showing that immense potential, that how it has over the period of time in the world at aggregate level has started focusing on the basic science or technology and in the research areas, as well as on the innovation. Innovation and appropriation problem. When it comes to innovation, there is a big problem that it seems to be a public goods, right? Innovation is what? Nothing, it's a knowledge that is a public. For economists, there are 3 reasons it is very attractive. Why do economists look for the innovation? Maybe the lawyers looks innovation and IP in a different perspective, and an economist looks from the different perspective. For economists, source of growth, science is a source of growth, and the lag may be longer. It can be 1 year, 2 years, or 10 years sometimes, 20 years sometimes, but it has a long-lasting impact on the society. So it's a source of growth. Second is the scientific research has properties of public goods. The problem of public goods, if you know that, there is a problem of appropriation. Public goods will be, you cannot exclude anyone, and it is difficult to put the price on public goods, and therefore economists come in and they kind of suggest the different kind of model related to the innovation, how to appropriate value or return from the innovation. The third point, which economists are interested to know, is the public nature of research and spillover inherent. So now, when you know that any innovation happens anywhere in the world, that will be either imitated by the other countries or somewhere remodel and work on that, and they will develop some kind of. So there is a spillover effect of the innovation. The spillover effect is nothing, but it says that either the technology will be transferred through license, that's one way, or technology can be transferred through spillover, which means that by learning and reading and understanding that thing without license, you can learn. And because patent is, or if you are talking about patent is the public documents, and one can read and learn from them. Only they can copy, they cannot copy it. So there is a spillover effect is there. Innovation is what? Innovation is the core of many fundamental economic problems and also the solutions. Early Hobbesian, like the kind of rustic life, the kind of, and the life which was not that the one we are right now. We used to be, the beggar one, the one who doesn't, humans does not live at the one places. They used to move on one to another places, and the rustic life was used to be there. Now it has changed from the Hobbesian life to the prosperity of the modern era that innovation did. Replaces the dirty technology, which means the technology which has, for example, what is the dirty technology? The coal used to be the popular energy source of energy that has been replaced by the more efficient, energy sources and more clean energy sources. And therefore, initial technology was removed and the new technology has been built up. Can also have to fight the climate change, which we have seen that how the EV and lot many other energy efficient cars that's coming into the market, and people are more concerned about the the related environment. Green revolution reduced the fear of famines. Green revolution is another product of innovation, another the miracle of science, which has created this kind of, so which has somehow made the country or developing countries more self-sufficient when in terms of food grain. World's 7 largest, if you look at that, world's 7 largest companies produces product that has not been there before 50 years. So which means that world's top 7 companies, they are producing the innovation, they are producing the product which has been developed in the past 50 years, which means that we are more updated, we are more coming edge, we are doing the coming edge technology. Innovation basically says that innovation can be anything. It can be, innovation can be a development, diffusion of or invention, diffusion of new goods, services, or production process. We study how do society expands production possibility friendly. So you remember, like, I'm not going to the economics deep discussion where we're talking about the, there is a national level of output, and at that national level of output, economy, after that economy cannot further extend, but the technology can help, to push the frontier from where it was earlier. So that is innovation that creates additional, capacity for the economy. Innovation is an economic problem agents who respond to incentives. So as we talk about economic problems, which means that no one will be ready to do innovation if there is no incentives created, right? So there can be a 2 type of incentive. Either someone innovate, and through that they kind of getting some kind of return from that, and also the government will provide certain kind of incentives like tax credit for the innovators. We will discuss that part also when we are going to discuss the India in innovation trajectory. World innovation in the title prior to 1960 that we have already discussed, which was very less, like 11 articles were there. Lately, now you can imagine how many articles, how many research has been published over the period of time. Economic study on innovation, it says that in the mid-century development in the industrial practice, government policy, and economic theory. So what was happening in the beginning of before the World War? At that time, the big industries or industrial research laboratories was the source of innovation. They used to innovate, and during World War, whatever innovation happened has benefited. Some way, even the discovery of nuclear has also benefited in the different kind of medical, medical instrument, medical technology that we have right now. Schumpeter, dynamic economic theory. Schumpeter was kind of saying that, lately that, innovation is about the creative destruction, and, innovation is required in order to have, to progress or economic growth. Whereas the solo comes in the economic theory where it talks about the long run economic growth is not possible to explain from the capital and labor, but the residual. And what is the solo residual? Is the technological progress that he talks about. If you look at the direction of innovation, some major questions are there. And these major questions are also related for the budding researcher and the one like us who really want to work in this field and want to know what is happening in Indian context. How do innovators decide on the pace and direction of their research expenditures? So basically, you can say that determinants of R&D, right? What are the factors that actually influences, and what are the factors that leads to, how do they decide which direction they should innovate? And is it a random thing, or it is something like, so that would be an interesting research work that in Indian context one can do that. How do inventors decide whether to improve existing items or create entirely new ones? Which means that in any organization, there can be a two type of innovation. One is the product innovation or process innovation. Whether they should do the process innovation, they should bring the new product in order to capture the market. What will be the strategy? And that can also be the direct questionnaire method one can use and understand, try to know that innovation ecosystem in the country. What role do scientists, thinkers, the one who owns the small labs and keep on redoing things, independent thinkers, and the lone innovators in the public sectors play in innovation? So one can look at the different agents and look their innovation, innovative capabilities and how they are contributing in the innovation field. What factors influence how quickly these innovations reach new consumers, use cases, and countries? So that can be like if an innovation is happening in the US, how much time it actually takes to reach in India. Product may reach here. Is it possible that Indian companies is able to create something better or at par or some level of that? So that can be also like taking about 20 innovative products and their life, that how much time it takes to spill over or it takes to reach to another countries or other regions. And what are the factors that make a technology to move faster or slower? These are the questions which I feel very important when it comes to understanding the innovation. What types of market structure encourages high level of innovation, which means do we need to have a monopolistic competition? What kind of or oligopolistic? What kind of market structure? What kind of policies is required? Shift effort due to labor and expensive capital cost. So, like if whether the innovation is stopped because of the labor cost or capital cost, or innovation it does not have any impact on that. So these are the couple of questions, like 5-7 questions, which is important when it comes to learning about innovation and its impact on the society as a whole. I'm okay if anyone can interrupt in between, and we can discuss that also in between. We can have some bi-directional talk, So market failure and innovation. So when it comes to the innovation, when we say that it's a public goods, right? It's a public goods. Innovation is an idea. So when you produce an innovation, how much cost it involves? It involves huge cost. But at the same innovation, if someone wants to produce, it will not cost much, which means that marginal cost of transferring innovation is zero, almost zero. But producing first time, it is costly affairs. And therefore, laissez-faire efficiency in the production of new ideas is not, or free market will always underproduce the innovation. Arrow kind of comes up and talks about that how to appropriate it and why it is not appropriate to have a free market when it comes to innovation. Like what he says, that production of goods or technology or innovation is costly to create. Marginal cost of transfer technology is almost zero. Whether 1% or 100% uses the newly created idea, cost remain the same. So no matter if 1% is using that same idea innovation or the 100% or 1000%, the cost is not varying, which means that additional cost of using that particular technology is almost zero. So because of these things, it is difficult to make the price. It is difficult to establish a certain price. There is externalities. Externalities is also associated with that, which means that ideas today are inputs into inventions tomorrow. Whatever ideas we have today, and somebody has rightly said that we are always sitting on the shoulder of giants, which means that whatever we are doing it today has somebody done 50 years back, not in the terms of product, but in terms of ideas somewhere. So, that idea basically passes through. And what is the source of passing that idea? Employees' mobility. When the workers are going from one organization to another organization, the ideas also move with that workers. A spillover value is not incorporated into market prices, and therefore it is difficult to manage this innovation and market phase. That is difficult to price it. Okay. Then comes to the spillover and fixed expenses paid solely by the initial creator. All suggest that competitive marketplaces will create inefficient innovation, which means if there is if it is being allowed to, like, you go and produce and you do innovation and keep it free, everyone will use it. No one is going to do, because the price of that one cannot get from that, you know. So research investment in some contexts are high for the two reasons. Then if it is that, why the research investment is happening? The one is that the inventors are ignorant. They do not know that, you know, the R&D lowers the expected return of others. So if somebody who's doing R&D right now, somewhere or other way, they kind of stop, they kind of, you know, making irrelevant to others' innovation. Take an example of, so in that, so that there is some kind of race going on. So take an example of, you know, some company, for example, they have come up with the one product, okay, and that particular product is existing, and someone is start working on similar kind of product, right? But there is, in the similar kind of product, they have slightly more, you know, more updated product they have come out. Although the earlier product is still, it was relevant, it was not completely irrelevant, but it is, it is eating out the earlier, it is taking out the earlier products market completely. The new innovation will take out. So that's why we say when the the investors or innovators, they do kind of invest money or do R&D, they do not know that they are taking away others' market. So that is and that's why they keep on doing R&D. And they also want to have the first mover advantage, though there is a conflict about the first mover advantage in the whether the first mover advantage exists. It exists in certain cases, whereas in some cases it has failed. For example, the you know, social network that we have right now. Once upon a time, we used to have myspace.com. It didn't work, but Facebook did work. So there was no first mover advantage for the social media network. But it is there for the, you know, later forms, later social media platform. They did wonder, like Facebook and Twitter. So a new invention, the second point, a new invention may simply steal market share from other forms without generating any social benefit. How is that? If drugs, take an example of drugs, right? No one noticed you know that there is a company who produces, you know, diabetes insulin, and there is a pen for that. And the same company, they have come up with some kind of first time in the world with the tablets for the insulin tablets, which is very innovative. They might have worked for a longer period. But for example, if the new product is slightly better, it can take out all the market of other penicillin. Maybe, sorry, not penicillin, insulin. So maybe because the customers are more attracted to the little advanced product rather than going back to the older products. So that's why it will take out all the benefits. Though it is the same company, so therefore there is no competition. What if there is some other companies, right? What if there is some other companies, they can definitely take out the market. Let's talk about the, so now when we have discussed all this part, when talking about the innovation in public goods and its market failure happens, then what is the alternate of that? How to appropriate the value from them? So there is a IP thing, intellectual property, and there is a system where it says that it gives a certain, some level of monopoly right on the innovation, and it protects for a period of time. Let's talk about the patent, right? In that it gives the 20 years period of time to protect, one can protect their innovation, and they can use it, they can exclude others to use that innovation. So let's talk about Indian innovation system, ecosystem, how it functions. So there are two, one is the users and other one is the producer. Producer are those science and technology institutions, academia, and innovating individuals. These are the one who produces innovation, who comes up with the ideas, who develop the technology. Knowledge users are same industry, production services, and public and private sectors, and individuals as well. So they are now how to bring the synergy between these two, and also the government policy, so that India can spur more innovation and stimulate more innovation. Let's look at that. What are the things here? There is an innovation index. In the innovation index, the complete innovation index, there will be a R&D expenditure. They will develop some kind of, they'll write a journal articles, research will happen. They will file a patent, or maybe the trademark, and they'll export those technology, high-tech tech. So in this way, some kind of this circular flow, in this way, some kind of value will be generated or throughout in the economy, and all these when they interact with each other. If any of these has a weaker policy, if any of these have left out, it will be very difficult to get all the value that innovation can really your country can be not be able to realize those innovation value of innovation or potential innovation. Role of agencies, if you look at that, what are the role of agency in the R&D ecosystem? Business enterprises in India is investing 42%, whereas the government 53%. What is the astonishing part here? If you look at that, the source of this data is the India's innovation ecosystem mapping the trends to 2021. It is available. One can look at that entire report. It's interesting, and to know that all these information related to India, which talks about that in India, the government sector is spending maximum in the research and development, whereas maximum, and whereas in the and the private, you can say that which is the lower than the government. And this is one of the factor you can say that here India requires more private investment, and the ecosystem needs to be recorrected, where a lot of, so maybe there can be a reason, there can be a multiple reason. The scholars can talk about those things, that what are the factors that why do the Indian enterprises, they are or the private enterprises, they are shying away from investing or in R&D. Why is it not happening? They are not realizing the benefit of innovation. There is weak patent right or IP rights, or what is the reason? They do not have a proper institutions. What are the reasons? Why is it so? That can be one big research questions. One can look at that aspect as well. Look at that Indian economy aspects, more market-oriented and service-oriented economy that we have, and attracting FDI, immense FDI in India. But just let's compare with the other contemporary countries with India's like US and China, for example, alone contribute about 50% of the global R&D. 50% of global, whatever R&D happened, alone US and China. Imagine during 70s or so, China and India didn't have much difference when it comes to publishing articles. By 1990, the gap has widened, right? China has become much higher than India. It reached to much higher than India. So during that time, 70s till 90s, and during that time, India could not produce the level of the articles, research, scientific papers, and the patents as well. Now China is able to produce more than 5 lakhs of patents, and so. But when it comes to India, still we are 50,000 of patents at somewhere far below. It's one time alarming time where we really, if we really want to compete in the when it comes to technology, or really create some kind of market for our goods, we need to have proper innovation ecosystem, and we have to cater all the capability that we are lying in the MSME sector. We need to really invest more, and we need to provide the innovation culture here. So 50% is US and China contribute. 8 more countries contribute 30%. The total 80% is already done. In 20%, rest of the things are there. China witnessed almost 30 folds increase in the past 30 years, since 1990. Increase in the R&D, 30 folds has increased. When it comes to India, if you look at the India R&D as a percent of GDP has been in the range of 0.6 to 0.9% somewhere, right? Which is far below than what they are making any experimentally developed country doing. One of the report by CTIR says that, one of the working paper report says that, spending on innovation will boost high technology export as share of manufactured export. So you look at that as the innovation, spending on innovation increases, 2006, 2011, 2016, you see that high technology export has also increases. And there is a huge margin in that. If the high technology export is happening, which means that economy is getting more mature when it comes to, it's not only the consumption goods they are spending, but they are exporting, but also the high technology. India has identified innovation as a priority. If you look at that in the past, this STIP policy has come up in 2020 during the COVID time, and it's a draft is there, was initiated as the in the mid 2020, developed and a nurtured ecosystem that promotes research and innovation on the part of both individual and organization level. Identified weakness of STI ecosystem. The new STI policy evolves around the core principle of decentralized, which means it's saying that, you know, there has to be autonomy to the research institutions. There has to be autonomy in the research. Second is the evidence informed, like, which means that if some model has already worked, if some product has already worked somewhere, let's work on that, improve on that, and bring the innovation. Bottom up, which means that feedback from the bottom to top has to go, not from the order from the top to bottom. So that kind of principle has been laid down, and the export driven and the inclusive. These are the 5 principles that on that basis STIP policy has been framed. Look at the priority technology here in India. Quantum frontier, which DST, US DST Department of Science and Technology, artificial intelligence, and the biodiversity, bioscience, and human health. And there are multiple. These are the priority, and there can be list or long list. You also can look at this data and this in the report given the India's innovation ecosystem mapping the trends. This report can be valuable, and its very recent reports can be valuable for those who really want to explore the India's potential and look at that, where do we really stand and what are the things happening in India in terms of innovation. What the justification of government supported R&D is the social value of innovation is much greater than private value. One can say that, no, it's not true. Reason is that many and they will cite an example of the pharmaceutical companies. Basically, they'll say that pharmaceuticals are exploiting, the poor, and they are making money, and and where is the social value? But overall, there is a studies which says that, which talks about, and they have estimated the social value and the private value separately and try to look at that, which one is greater and how much is greater from one to another. So the idea is that a one-time investment in R&D today will result in an endless stream of higher output in the future. So one investment in R&D and development of one product and one technology, not only helping the one technology, but there can be a multiple product of that. And that is going to help also to build the new products in the market, which can one can capture the market as well with that. Like Bloom, Shankerman, and the Van Reenen, a paper of 2013, which talks about the market distance between firms to estimate the using technological and market distance between firms to estimate the gross social return to R&D, which found that 20 times or more than that difference was there, which means the social value is higher than the private value of the paid innovation. And then you look at that, how do we finance innovation here in India? How do we finance? Like if you look at that finances, India has come up with the policies, right? It started in somewhere in 2000, 2001 tax credit policy. And the tax credit policy was basically saying that, that if you invest in R&D, you will get the tax incentives. You will get the tax credit, and tax credit of till 200% was also there. Like for example, somebody who's investing in the 50 and somebody who has a income of 50 who investing 40 20 on R&D, they will be credited, they will be exempted for 40 rupees of their income will be will be exempted. So these kind of tax credit policy came into existence in order to facilitate, or in order to help all the firms, those who are in the manufacturing, they want to do R&D, they want to develop a new product and increase the innovation. That was the idea of the government since 2000. Until now, this policy has been there in the place. There are one study, one of my colleagues has conducted on that, R&D tax credit, impact of tax credit policy on R&D expenditure as well as on the innovation. And it's very interesting paper which has been published in the research policy recently in the last year, I guess. So that will be one more, reading for those who really want to look at that. How does this, policy of tax credit policy in India has benefited the innovation activities in the country. If you look at that global patenting in India, which is also which you will kind of see that how the foreign countries are more filing in India. So in India, almost 70% of the patents, 70 to 80% of the patents are being filed by the foreigners in India, non-residents, which is called non-resident, not by Indians. But in India, by Indians, at the Indian Patent Office, only 30 to 25% patents being filed. So which is also showing that how in the innovation terms, we are really far behind compared to any other countries. And reverse is there in the China. Okay, so you look at also the over the period of time for MNCs, by foreign MNCs and domestic Indian, how much patents is being filed. There is another report, Indian report on IP, and you can look at that. This Indian IPO is the Indian Patent Office, which publishes the report, annual report. Basically, it's called annual report. In that annual report, you can find all the data and all this, all the IP wise, different IP wise, and you look at those data, and you can really find that how much trade geographical indicators is happening, how much is the copyright is being done, how much is trademark is being done, and how much patents is being done. So this is also showing on data like where it has been a maximum number of patents is being filed by MNCs or the foreign companies. This is also showing that our manufacturing units are not that have not reached to that level where patenting is still at the lower stage. And also look at this World Economic Forum data, which says that scientific and technical journal articles in China, you just see how much is that more than 4 lakhs is there, whereas in India 1,10,000 we are quite behind. R&D expenditure percentage of GDP, if we are really comparing with the China or any other, the France or any other countries, we are still at the 0.62% of total GDP we are spending on the R&D, whereas China 2.11% they are spending. High-tech export, high technology export in $1 billion, if you look at that, India is spending 7% export they are doing, right? And 24% is being done by China, and 14% by USA. Patent filed all over, patent filed 1.33 million. 1.33 million was filed by China, whereas 45,000 in India. So this kind of thing, this shows the stark reality, and there is a difference between these two economies where we actually stand in terms of innovation, although we have done better in the past 10 years in terms of global innovation index, though there is still a big gap when it comes to the patent filing, when it comes to innovation. And maybe the ecosystem, somewhere else, the ecosystem is not properly in sync. The individuals, those who wants to innovate, the institution there and their funding and the policy, all has to be in sync. There has to be free flow of the money when it comes to the research in the institution. Also, it should be promoted the more and more quality research, and more, the PhD has to be given that in order to increase the scientists, basically. So these are the reality. The data says the reality where we really stand right now. Patent filed by resident and non-resident, if you look at that, in that China, like 90% is patent filed by in China, 90 resident only, which means that how much innovation the Chinese people does, right? Whereas in India, if you look at that, 30% by resident and 70% by non-resident, which means the maximum. So this is also lower. So there is, it's already data is giving the points where we have to work. One, R&D we have to work where. Second point, R&D government is doing more, private is not doing more. So the second thing there we have to work. Now, third thing, if we correct all those two things, obviously automatically the third thing will be corrected where residents will be able to produce more and more innovation compared to the non-resident that they are filing. So that can be, it's not about only patent, but also about the innovation effort. Looking at the word frugal innovation, you already know the frugal innovations where it's the grassroots innovation, which says that there is enough potential here, right? How the mythical fridge was developed by the Indian engineer, Mansukh by Prajapati in 2006 made a clear, and the device cost roughly $50 and use no electoral power. So imagine in a country where from the big card to the blood card is there, all the things going hand in hand. Both the things are there in India. This kind of innovation really can cater a big demand in the rural areas, can help them if it is been properly reached out to the people in the local areas. Affordable health like GE Vascan in the pocket size ultrasound device launched in the 2010 compared to traditional ultrasound, it cost very low. And there are many, if you will track the frugal innovation in India, you will find that there are many bright people out there. They have been constantly doing. The problem is how to bring those things in the market. Where is the incubation center? They can test those things. Those are the problems that we can. So what I was personally thinking when reading all those effort of the frugal innovation and the potential of in the rural economy, how much is that? There is one requirement of incubation center in the rural areas. Incubation center in the rural, not only in the urban areas where the institutes will have like maximum IITs. And I remember in my institution there was the incubation center, so people can come and they do develop the product and all those things. But what it is required that innovation incubation center needs to reach the rural areas, so that one can really be a part of that and can learn from there, and experts should keep on visiting those such places. That is one thing. If we really want to match and want to bring those ideas bring back in the market, it will be very helpful if they do it. Wind power, Meher Hussain and Mushtaq Ahmed from the Assam built bamboo windmill and around $100 to pump water from the small field. The invention has now been adopted by Gujarati salt workers, the poorest among all in the states. So you imagine that how these small effort has created a big change in the society. Biomass gas fired, invented by the Raj Singh Daya. It created a fuel. These are the few. Lists are long. Like we cannot really even able to do that. But the problem is, did they sustain? How? If they have not sustained, what was the reason? Maybe there was the financial reason. Maybe they did not get the proper market. All those factors are there. Not only the patent or whatever we are doing is important, but the more important is there are mines in the rural area. You need to cater those mines. You need to bring them into the market. You need to provide the proper platform so that they can excel there and they can bring their product and make it more effective product. Maybe some products are there which is not very efficient at the beginning, but if the incubation or if the expert opinion is being given and the help is provided, it can really create a big difference in the economy. And we need to do that. Let's look at briefly about the patent policy in India. Now, patents are part of the formal intellectual property set of the government policy designed to enable people to financially gain from their creation and invention. Like I said, since it's talking about IP, we are not talking a lot of other part of the IP. There are many IP instruments, but we are talking about here particularly the patent. Since patent captures the measure of IP, it has a major share in the IP, all IP assets. IP assets, you can call it. IP instruments, you can call it. The rights cover in the claim that is protected. If you look at that, it started from the 15th century in England and other European countries. During that time, it has spread there, where 17th to 19th century in America, it has spread. And the history of the patent system reveals that economies formulated patent regimes according to a special requirement of their industry, which means still that things are there, which means that Switzerland introduced the mechanical invention patents to protect its watch industry. But at the same time, same country withheld patent protection on chemical substances and processes because its infant chemical industry relied upon imitating German technology. So at one point, the same country protected one industry, whereas patenting in other industry was not allowed, like chemical substances. Why? Because they wanted to protect the infant industry. Similar thing happened in India. Since 1970s till 2005, there was no product patent in pharmaceutical. Why? Indian government wanted to protect the economy of generic drugs, right? Generic drugs. So because most of the people are dependent on those drugs, generic drugs, and generic drugs are cheaper compared to the product patented drugs, which is very high costly. One cannot afford that. And I remember that one example related to that. So there was a time during 1997, 98, 99, during that time, it was the AIDS was spreading like anything in Africa, and that time only when the Cipla came up and said that they are going to do the generic, and they did it. And at that time, those companies used to sell one dose of AIDS drugs in 11,000 rupees, whereas when Cipla came up, 300 rupees one dose. It was much below, and if you look at those days, it used to be a big protest against those pharmaceuticals companies, and the Cipla came up. So how generic drugs has created value for the people, that is again a matter of like how the economy has protected. So a need for protecting ideas. Why do we need to protect? So protecting patents in a different jurisdiction was realized due to the fear that their ideas would be stolen and exploited commercially in other countries. And why they wanted to protect is because they thought they have developed the idea, they have first right to sell those ideas and get the benefit out of that. Okay, how much time we have?
Sir?
We have some time now.
Yes, sir. 5 minutes, sir.
Okay, so developing countries can benefit from the patent IP. Like patent policy expected to benefit the developing countries by not only boosting innovation domestically, but also internationally. Developing technological capabilities. So once you can learn from the patent is the public documents. So that can be, one can learn from that. At times, benefit from imitation is high compared to innovation. And countries' patent regime depends upon our level of technological ability. So which means the absorption capacity, which means that over the period of time, if a country will learn from the technology, and they learn, which means that whatever the international technology comes in, they will quickly absorb it in it. So that will depend on that absorption, how quickly they learn and how quickly they absorb those technology. So if you look at that, that is the non-linear relation, which means that there is not a straight line relationship that if the innovation is happening somewhere, the same innovation, if you keep on doing innovation, you will learn, you will do more innovation. It's not that. It's like initially innovation happens, but but it will decline, and then further it will increase the economic growth. Look at that, the software patenting also. If you look at that software patenting, which is not allowed in India, but if it is embedded with a certain hardware, it is there, and there is a multiple development that happened over the period of time. In 2017, recent one CRI, the report which says that computer-related inventions, which 2016 novel hardware was one of the criteria for presenting the computer-related invention, but this criteria has been removed in the revised CRI guidelines released on 30th June 2017. The revised CRI guidelines has virtually opened the door for software patenting in India. Okay, we know the part of the IPR, we do not have to discuss those things. One point that I want to discuss from my paper, which is value of innovation in India. If you look at that, distribution of discounted lifetime value of the patent rights in India at the $2,000, the constant price of 2010, which says in millions, it is showing that I have in this study, basically there is a 5 different technology which is here: electrical, instrument, chemistry, mechanical, and other field, where we're saying that the maximum mean value of the patent is in the electrical sectors compared to any other sectors. And chemistry, for your information, chemistry includes pharmaceutical, biotechnology, organic fine chemistry, and so many other technologies are there. So still, even being the pharmaceutical there, in India, still the electrical patents are more valuable compared to that. Although the data is a little older, reason is that we wanted to look at the lifetime of the patent. And therefore, so let's look at that. These are the value in terms of money. Distribution of patent, discounted value of patent rights by ownership status. If you look at that, non-resident patents value are high value patent compared to the resident patents, which also shows that the patent which owned by, and foreigners, or non-resident in India, they are more, they are in quality, they are good in quality compared to the Indian patents. If you look at that one, this quantile thing, which will be telling you that a large number of patents have no value or zero value or very less value, whereas only value of patent is concentrated in only few, which means that value of patent is skewed. Value of patent is concentrated and skewed. Skewed distribution is there, which means that the patent, only few patents are blockbuster and rest of the patent are either frivolous or have no value. So in that study, we find that the technology is depreciating by the 49%, right? Which suggests that the expected value of patented technology in India depreciate at much higher rate than such technology in China, which is the 24.28%. And so the idea basically is, and this also reflects that the quality of technology or technology life cycle in India is lower compared to any other countries. We find that the electrical, mechanical, and instrument patents are more valuable in monetary terms than those in India, chemical and pharmaceutical sectors. These are the information which is kind of telling that what kind of effort a government needs to make in order to strengthen the innovation capability in the country. Distribution of patent value is highly asymmetric, and technology and ownership group, large number of patents are less valuable and only a few patents holds high value. The study also finds that the mean patent value increases with the additional renewal year and other patent characteristics. If you look at the comparative analysis, the multiple other studies which conducted on the different countries' data on the patent valuation, and in this paper we have found that 0.76 for the resident patent value and non-resident 1.33 at the $2010, whereas the Besson paper in the US they have conducted at the 1991 price, which information is already given. So this is kind of comparative studies which says that where do we stand in the patent value terms. Another important information regarding the life of the patent in India. So life of the patent basically saying that patent which is granted today, right, will have the patent which is filed in today will have a 20 years of life from today, right? So for example, patent filed in 2000 and it has been granted in 2005. From 2000 till 2020, it will have life. But in order to avail the exclusive right, every patentee has to renew it every year after the grant. So they have to pay the arrears money, right? Arrears money. First 2 years will be exempted. From the third years, they have to pay the third years till the granted arrears. And after that, every year they have to pay the renewal fees. So if they are not renewing it, they fail to renew, which means that their patent will not have exclusive right on that patent. If you look at that patent, where the how much percentage of the patent, around the 50% of the patent and more than that, they expires before that. On an average, in India, a patent survives 12 years, 11 to 12 years. 11 to 12 years. Compared to China, it is 3-4 years greater than what we have. It also shows that maximum patent which is filed by the non-resident, and that's why we have, yes, sorry. All right, so I'm just winding up. All right. If you look at that, the study also divides into the discrete and complex technology categories, right? In that, basically, we are trying to look at that which technology have high value. So plus sign basically saying that high value technology, minus sign which shows that lower value technology, lower value of this technology has lower value compared to the base category. And in the base categories, in the discrete technology, pharmaceuticals, and the complex technology, computer technology. Compared to computer technology, which technology are higher value and which technology has lower value. Compared to pharmaceutical, which technology has higher value and which technology has lower value. It has been summarized here. So let's conclude our discussion here, which we have discussed thoroughly that what has happened in the innovation, how it is relevant, what market failure happens, and how appropriability problems comes in, and what is the over the period of time innovation effort through the innovative effort and ecosystem has been developed by the Indian government. So let's conclude by saying that we need to integrate the science, technology, and innovation policies that into national development strategy. So, and for India, various initiatives have been pushed, and the country pushed the country up in the global innovation index from 57th position in 2018 to 46th position in 2021. However, few things are like IP awareness, which requires identifying frugal innovation and incentivizing them, and increasing R&D from the current level 0.67 to the level spent by the developed countries. That is required. Increase the participation of private sector and encourage startup entrepreneurship. And as I suggested, it requires, in order to cater the frugal innovation, it requires the incubation center in the rural area. There has to be a pan-India plan developed in order to support the frugal innovation. That's all from my side. Thank you. If you have any questions, we will be happy to discuss. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your fascinating and informative presentation. It was a pleasure listening to you, sir. We have learned so many aspects of relevance of intellectual property and innovation in India. And we have a few questions from the participants. First question is, what are the IPR issues specific to India? An article I read said to increase awareness about IPR.
Yes, the question is what are the IP issues in India?
Yes. And what do you think can be the step in this direction to increase awareness about IPR?
Okay. Anything else?
That's all, sir.
Okay. If you look at that issues related to IP in India, the patent right in India, I mean, almost it's compliant with what TRIPS agreement says, that it has compliance. There are multiple other factors that is like basically, for example, if you look at the software patenting is one area where it was not allowing it, and somewhere it's now it is allowing it to, and to allow it to the patent, those software patenting that can be also be included, and sure in future that is going to come. Second thing about is that India is like kind of still they are not having, they have not opened it completely when it comes to the property rights. Open it means like still the protective regimes are there, where basically in India the foreign patentings that is happening here, you know, that should be, of course, that should be encouraged, right? That is not a problem. Like if a lot of foreign patenting is happening, but it's still the inbreeding, or you can say the absorption, is not happening in India. Absorption means that learning from those technologies is not happening in India. So from the IP perspective, there can be a legal perspective. I cannot comment on that, but what I can say from the economic perspective, that spillover or the absorption or the learning from the technology is not really in that pace as it should be. So that's one my observation that I observed, where you know, spillover which is happening, but it's not in the same pace. Whatever innovation is happening, whatever the information is available in India. When it comes to awareness about IPR, this is one of those platforms where, you know, you discuss about not only the institutes such as privileged institutes where, you know, they all have every facilities they should know, but also in the colleges, right? I mean, they really don't know about it. A lot of colleges, small labs, and all those are there in the remote area, where this kind of seminar and this kind of you know, talk needs to be conducted. And since we have an online platform, we need to reach out to those places so that a lot of people have energy. They can really think about the you know, to have some kind of they may have innovative mind, but just it needs a little push, and it needs a little information about where to do, what to do, from where they can learn and from where they can develop it. So those information needs to pass on those. So such kind of seminars should be conducted, definitely. That's my observation. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Another question from Pankaj Gogoi. How could we protect intellectual property rights in the innovation process?
How do we oh yes. So many people, yes, I get the point. Many people they protect in the beginning only, right? They will just when they are at the concept node or somewhere, they have some initial stage, of some part of initial stage of their development, they can protect it, and it Indian Patent Office, they allow it to do that. Okay, and then further you can so you can file the patent, you can file the so what is the idea? Basically, if you have filed first some idea, right, if someone who come up with the same final stage and they will go for the patent, they will not be granted, they will not allow to get the patent right on that technology, because you already have registered, you already have filed it, although it has not been granted for you because it's under process, but still it is protecting your rights. So one can normally, the way final product is being patented, the initial stage of the technology development, one can go and file it, although it will not be granted, but it will be registered, at least public in the domain, in their list. So that can be done.
Okay. The next question is, the United States Trade Representatives again placed India on the priority watch list for lack of adequate intellectual property right, protection and enforcement. What are your views on this?
What was the question? United States?
The United States Trade Representative again placed in India on the priority watch list for lack of adequate intellectual property right protection and enforcement. What are your views on this?
Yeah. No, so basically the idea of the, I mean, I have not read that part, but the idea is what is happening. No, I told you that in India, still India is protecting our own, industries, right? There are list of things there where one cannot patent in India. The way I told you about, we discussed about the French, like, they protected certain technology, they allow, whereas in the certain technology they allowed patenting. So here in India, the long list are there where one cannot patent. So therefore, many, what happens, many developed countries, they are really feeling uneasy about it, that, they are not able to patent it. And then therefore, it is, what do you say, it is threat for them that it is possible that India can imitate and can do. Since patent is geographical in nature, if it is being filed in one country, it will be protected in that country only. One cannot claim the same patent in other countries if they have not filed separately or they have not got patent granted in that office, right? So that's why they might be talking about that, but I have no idea about that, what has been discussed there. Yes.
Okay. Another question from Pankaj Gogoi. Not very clear about frugal technology. Is it simply rural to global or something specific other than that? How it will help in uplifting the country's economy?
Yes, frugal basically is grassroots innovation. The grassroots innovation, what it is called. So, so for example, whatever innovation we see right now, most of the innovation is coming either from the institutions or the organization, big corporate organizations, big organizations. There are frugal innovation are those innovation which does not have any formal setup. It does not have a formal lab. It does not have a formal scientists sitting together and they are developing it. So it can be anywhere, like, it's like a very informally developed, not very fine product, but it has certain potential. So those are the grassroots level innovation. Mostly, I'm not saying that it is not from the urban area, but it is mostly coming from the rural area. Although semi-urban, urban areas also, people are working in the tinkering lab or small lab where they kind of doing it, innovating it and all, like they do that. But it's like an informal, more like an informal place where it has it has a potential to create a immense value for the economy. I tell you how, because see, it's not that everyone wants the upgraded technology that or everyone needs direct the high technology that is coming from US or which is developed in the urban sphere and which is very costly. Still, we have a large number of population living in the rural areas, and it requires a certain kind of energy efficient technology, less pricey. It should be less pricey. It should be, it should be movable. It should be easy to handle for them, because still they are still not able to adopt the high technology. So it has immense economic benefit if they are coming up. If the government promotes it, it will definitely create a big market for them for those such products. Also, not only in that area, but if it is sustainable and if it has a certain it's finally done with that product, it can also reach to the many urban spheres, and consumers can use those such technology. And mostly frugal innovation is basically related to some kind of what is jugaad technology, which is there is a book called jugaad. Now it's not a alien word for us. The jugaad technology, something which works with the jugaad, which kind of ad hoc thing, but it works. It works. It has certain values. Yes.
Okay. One more question. This question is from our student, Mriganko Borwa. What is status of IP crimes, including counterfeiting and piracy in India?
IP?
IP crimes, including counterfeiting and piracy in India.
Piracy, if you read that, if you last time there was a Delhi High Court thing was going on when about the copyright issue was there, the book's copyrights were, so they allowed it to do that. I'm really not updated about the copyright piracy related information on this, so I'll just excuse on that, because the legal aspects of that, and I'm really not much aware about that. Mostly maybe talking about the economic aspects will be okay. Yes. I'm sorry. Yes.
Okay. Another question from Ankur Gogoi. If we have idea about any innovative topics, but we are not exactly explained how we can change our ideas into a functional protocol, can any online platforms which guided us properly?
There are things, see, literature available, and there are other things out there. For example, you have come up with some idea and you don't know whether it has a novel or not, right? Idea has to be novel. It should not be copied from somewhere, right? It should be novel. So what you do, there are different platforms. You can either, the USPTO is one of the biggest site where you can look at those, type those keyword and get the list of information, get the list of patent that has been done, read those. This is the manual thing that one has to do. Read them. And patent is what? It's a documents, right? In documents, it is explained everything. So you can just see that if whatever idea one has got, what is that? It has already been done or not. Similarly, in the India, there is the IPO, Indian Patent Office database. In that also, if you type that keyword, whatever keyword is there, a lot of information and a lot of patent information will be there, patented information. You can just look at how to do that. When it comes to training and all, there's no as such training and all, but you can just get some expert view on that. It's always, maybe the institutions, some institution can help, maybe incubation centers are there in order to help those things. And the government, number of other, Innovate India, basically Make in India, Innovate India. There are many startup like BIREC and all. BIREC, especially in the biotechnology areas, they are helping a lot of new. They are inviting people to write some kind of idea, and they will fund it. Seed fund, basically initial fund they will give in order to develop such idea. So they are kind of mentoring as well. There is a Y Combinator. That is another kind of what they do, boot camping. They will do the boot camping. What they do, Y Combinator. Boot camping means like there will 4 weeks and 8 weeks of time you have to go there and work there. Like for example, actors learn workshop. Actors do workshop. Similarly, innovators workshop, where there will be expert. They will provide you all the facility. Later on, they'll develop the business. That's a different story, but you can develop the product. So that are the options. Yes.
Okay. So we have one more question from YouTube Live. Sir, do you think that free access to information sources poses a threat to the intellectual property rights of researchers themselves?
A big question. Actually, I am one of beneficiary of free resources. Okay, so I don't know how to say it, but the maximum people who is doing research in India have got one source. I'll not name it at this platform but they have used the source and they have downloaded the paper. They have done those research. Otherwise, it is very difficult. It's very costly to get those journals access, and not all the institutes will have such access. Right. So yes, free resource has done it, but now the question is, how to appropriate that thing, like, if it is a free resource, because see, some people are people say that, and they are also into that we do research, we provide everything, but the journal, the one who owns it, the publishers, they get the benefit out of that. Like, you do individual research, you publish it. It's a long debate in that whether it should be free and how. There is open access is also there, so two options are there. Open access, if you are doing, you want it to be open access, you have to pay certain amount and it will be open access for all. So all those things are there. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Sir, I think we have no more questions, and we almost reached at the end of the session of this week-long online workshop on intellectual property right for the promotion and protection of innovations. I, on behalf of organizing committee, would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to Dr. Sadaf Dani, sir, for giving us his valuable time and for enlightening us with the knowledge on relevance of intellectual property and innovation in India. It was indeed very informative and pleasure listening to you, sir. How to direct our innovation towards economic growth and contribute towards the development of our country, especially in developing one like India. The role of intellectual property in innovation and economic growth of India. Now, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to our principal, sir, Dr. Sabbasasri Mahanto, sir, of Goga College, for giving us the opportunity to organizing the workshop. And I also would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to DPIIT, IPR, Sierra Tesco University, and IPEZ, the City Law School, City University of London, for collaborating with researchers with us. And I would also like to express my heartfelt gratitude to the faculty members and participants for staying connected with us for their active participation. Looking forward to more such enriching and enlightening interaction in future. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much for providing this opportunity. Indeed, it was a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everyone.